The Minnesota Vikings go on the road to face their NFC North division rival Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Green Bay is currently installed as a 9.5-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ. 46.5 is the total. Now, to be honest with you, when I first saw this line on Monday night, my first instinct said Minnesota. I said, oh, that's too many points for Green Bay to be given in this spot. After all, the Packers, they just haven't been the same this year on offense. I mean, it's not that they haven't come around yet or just haven't found their rhythm. They're just a whole lot worse than they have been. I mean, it's 11 games in now. They're 18th in the league in total yards per game, 14th in passing offense, 13th in points per game. They're averaging a full 11 points per game fewer than they did last season when they led the NFL in scoring at 35 points per game. Now, why is that? What has been wrong with Green Bay offense this season? I don't think anybody really knows the answer. The most common guess as to what's wrong with the Green Bay offense has been the absence of Greg Jennings. Jennings, of course, has been the number one wide receiver on this Packers team for the last few years. Still, coming into this season, Aaron Rodgers, he spreads the ball out so well in this offense. I don't think anybody would have thought that the absence of any one player on this Green Bay offense, with the exception of Rodgers himself, would have had this great of an effect, but apparently it has. Because aside from Jennings being gone, the rest of the offense is pretty much the same unit we've seen the last couple of years. And as we mentioned, there has been a dramatic drop-off in production. Well, good news. Greg Jennings expected to play this week for the first time in a couple of months. He has been battling that abdominal injury, so we'll see if this is finally the week that Green Bay picks it up. I mean, they've only topped 31 points one time all season. They averaged 35 per game last year. Not going to be easy against Minnesota, though. The Vikings play pretty good defense, which is why, as I said, when I first saw this line, I thought Green Bay hasn't been the same on offense. Minnesota plays pretty good defense. They run the ball well. 6-5. They're a good competitive team. They really need the game. I just thought 9.5 was too many points. But you know what? As the week's gone along here, I'm starting to change my mind. I'm actually starting to come around to the Green Bay side here. Listen, Minnesota, they have problems at the quarterback position. Now, I'd like to know, Vikings fans, if there are any Vikings fans out there, do you think Christian Ponder is the answer? I'm not just talking about this year. I'm talking about long-term. Ponder, this is a guy who was not that good in college. I mean, played for Florida State, was surrounded by a lot of talent, had serious turnover problems throughout his collegiate career. His teams were always underwhelming and disappointing. He'd go off and play 3 or 4 good games in a row and then have a disastrous game. Last year in his rookie season had turnover problems, and this year got off to a good start of the season, played well for the first 4 games, or at least didn't throw any interceptions for the first 4 games. But the wheels have come off now for Christian Ponder. This guy is playing some bad football. When you look at his last 5 games, he's had 4 really bad games, including last week. The only exception, a couple of games ago, he played a good game against Detroit, but he was bad last week against Chicago in a lopsided loss. He's been bad just about all the time recently. And even though Green Bay, you would never say that the defense is the strength of this Packers team, the defense has really improved this year from what they were last season. The big reason that the Green Bay Packers have been able to survive their drop-off on offense this season, after all, they're still 7-4, only a game back of the lead in the NFC North. Big reason for that is because of the improved play of their defense. And they should have a somewhat easy target with the Minnesota Vikings coming to town. I mean, I know Adrian Peterson is a great player, maybe still the best running back in the league, and the Packers are going to have their hands full with him, no doubt about it, but the Vikings are one-dimensional. It's Peterson, and then what? Christian Ponder just talked about him. Percy Harvin, who had emerged early in the season. I was saying I thought Percy Harvin might be the best wide receiver in the entire NFL. This guy was playing that well. He's missed the last couple of games with an ankle injury. Questionable for this game. Sounded like he's not going to play, and even if he is going to play, going to be much less than 100%. So without Percy Harvin, with Christian Ponder, with Greg Jennings returning for the Packers, I don't know. Despite my early lean towards the Minnesota Vikings, I think Green Bay, is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it handily. As of now, I lean towards the Packers minus 9.5 on Sunday.